Oh, geez, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm not ready.
It's okay.
Okay, we got this. How could it be? You ready? Yeah, I've just
Yep.
asked you that. Okay. Three, two, one, go. No, I
All
don't stop
right.
again because I missed the button. Get rid of that. Start
All
again.
right.
I'm so tired. Are you ready?
Ready.
Three, two, one, go. Okay,
All
I
right.
didn't miss the button this time. We're actually going. Oh, geez, Jesse, this is episode 19.
I thought last week was 19.
Well, either that or I've got my numbers wrong. I mean, it says 19 on the sheet that I'm looking at. I'm assuming I'm going to have to look at my other videos now and find out if it's. I don't want to be wrong. If it's episode 20, that's a milestone, and that would be really convenient, actually.
Hold on. I'm gonna look on YouTube.
No, it was 18 last time. 18, so this is 19. But yeah.
Okay.
I was kind of hoping this would be episode 20 because right at the end of the podcast, we got a bit of feedback or a question that I actually wanted to lead into a discussion. So we'll get there right at the end. And Jesse, I know we said it last time and I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like this is going to be a long podcast today. Although the news is relatively lacking, we've got an awful lot of actual, not duplicated feedback.
Yay! That's so good.
Yeah, it is. So we was hoping, obviously we haven't even started yet. Hang on. Hello and welcome back to the Minecraft Update podcast. This is episode 19 and of course here with Jesse B. No slack. He's still got his, he's still got Jen round. I think he had all the best will in the world to be with us today, but it's like 3 a.m. his time. We told him not to. Wait till next week. It's fine. And hopefully next week, Jesse will stop being so darn selfish and making Slack try and do the podcast at 3 a.m. in the morning and me do it at 9 or 8 a.m. in the morning. Gee, so we're going to do it a bit later in the day, which will affect my live stream time, but it's all for the best. It's all good. Right. Anyway, geez. I don't know, Jesse B. Oh.
I know. So selfish.
I can't believe it. Honestly, like you staying up till midnight just to record a podcast. You're so unreasonable.
I know. I got to work on it. It's one of my biggest flaws, I think, just how self-centered I can be sometimes. I'm really going to work on it, promise.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but it's got to that point now. I just can't cope with it anymore, Jesse, and someone needed to point it out publicly on a podcast. So there you go. Well, you're welcome.
You know what? I think that means that we're really friends. If you can just be that honest with me, I think it's a great sign. Great sign.
Wow, that's brilliant. Hey, you're really annoying and you do my head in. Oh, you must really like me. Oh, that's so nice.
Really like me.
Jesse, I do really like you. I'm only kidding. Right,
Yay.
Okay. Speaking of really liking each other, I don't know what that is, a rubbish segue, but what have you been up to this week, Jesse?
You know, this week has been super productive for me. I mentioned, I think on the last podcast, my whole household was sick, right?
Yeah.
So this week, I just, I barreled through it all. I got an episode recorded. I got so much built on my base in TB. Like sometimes I don't know what is wrong with me. I don't know what happens, but I just get this whim and I cannot stop. Like, I don't know if you've seen my base. I don't know when's the last time you saw my base, but I had done the entrance to my base, right?
Yeah.
I had done it probably, I don't know, like a week in. And I was happy with it, whatever. I looked at it the other day and the husband was sitting at his desk. And I'm sitting there and I'm guessing making like humming and hawing noises, right? Like I'm not satisfied. And he's like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I hate my base. I was like, I hate it. I don't know what's wrong with it. I do not like it. And he sits here and he looks at it and he goes, well, what would you do to fix it? And I was like, well, I would make the whole mountain bigger. I'd make the mountain bigger. I'd make the entrance bigger. I think the perspective is off. Like something is off. And he's like, well, do that. I was like, oh, okay. So
okay. Yeah. Okay.
I built a mountain. I fixed my base and now I love my entrance. I think it's looking great. I have so much terraforming to do, but that's just like something that I do in Minecraft. Like I just get this idea in my head that something isn't right and then I change everything. But this time it's worked out. I've been doing it on live streams. It's been a lot of fun. I'm like getting really motivated for TB again, which has been great. And so it's all pretty positive this week so far. And I think one of like the key things to it is I've just been like focusing on trying to be happy. And
Yeah.
that sounds so weird, but it's what I've been doing. I was just like, you know what? There's so much to be negative about. Like I've gone on and on about my floor, which by the way still is not fixed.
Wow.
And and I just like sat here and I was like, I am so miserable right now. Like I'm miserable, being anxious, being, negative. And I was like, I'm just going to focus on the things that I like. I'm going to focus on my kids. I'm going to focus on TB and I'm just going to be happy. And sure, you fake it till you make it sometimes. But I think that some great things have come out of it so far.
It is funny, isn't it? Like when people tell you to smile because it genuinely does have a positive reaction internally for you when you try and you're like, I don't want to smile. And then you smile and you're like, okay, it kind of works a bit.
Yeah,
Shut up, leave me alone.
A little bit.
Yeah. It's a funny one that because, I don't know, my mental health experience, I'm not a mental health person, by the way, I'm just saying, but my experience of other people talking about it and myself trying to be happy is often like it's not a good way around going about being happy. But in the circumstances and what you've just said, I think that's a really positive step forward. It's not like you're going, I'm just going to be miserable, but fake it. You're going, I'm genuinely, trying to be less negative and be more positive. And I think that's a really good thing to do. I would just say though, Jessie, has anyone ever told you're perhaps a little bit too agreeable?
Yes.
Just rebuild the mountain, Jessie. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. It's I don't know what it is about me, but I find life so much easier
by nodding.
When I'm just when I don't fight too much. But I also think that it's part of what makes me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I cannot imagine if I wasn't, I guess for lack of a better word, like so nice. Like if I didn't just really take a second and pause and think things through, if I just let my emotions get the better of me, I think I'd be a mean person.
Evil Jessie coming out. Oh, geez.
It would. I think I would be grumpy because I'm not a saint. I don't like everything that happens around me. I don't like everything that someone says. And there are times that things get on my nerves, but I very, very purposely choose to just ignore it. It's not that big of a deal. And if somebody asks me to do something, if somebody suggests something, I often find it's just easier to just be like, okay, I'll do what I can do. I can try.
Yeah. Well, fair enough.
But yes, I often get told that I might be a little too agreeable.
Yeah, a bit of a pushover. Which it's not always a bad thing to be, but sometimes, I mean, believe it or not, Jessie, as much as I come across completely the opposite for that, I can be in my personal life a complete pushover, and it gets to the point where you do just get thoroughly frustrated because you feel like you're taking on everyone else's stuff. And you start to lose focus on your own thing, and it's stressful, and you're like, oh man, I got to go to work, but I just, because I really like to be flexible for people, or as flexible as possible, especially when it comes to my kids and stuff like that. So I totally get that feeling there. And I think sometimes it's good to just stand up and say no, but you feel the worst for doing it. You feel so guilty. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, geez.
But what about you? I happened to notice on TV earlier today that you've been on.
I have, yeah. I have been on. I've built a bakery, Jessie. I've finally done it. Now, after you and Mr. Beardstone stole it from me, I've finally done my own one. And it's a working bakery, kind of, sort of. Basically, the idea is that it's got a little redstone contraption in there, and you go in and you put a bit of wheat in a barrel, a furnace turns on next to the barrel, and then after a second or two, a piece of bread pops out of a dispenser. So it's like an actual bakery. Now, in reality, the wheat just goes into a barrel somewhere. The furnace is literally just smelting a piece of stone, and the bread is pre-crafted and popping out. But it's the fun of it, It's like, you can actually go in there and do something with that bakery. It's not just a pretty one. So I'm really happy with it, and I'm really proud of the actual design of it as well, because I literally threw that together the other morning in a creative test world with no idea what I was doing. I was like, I need to build this bakery. I'm going to do it, and I was really, really pleased with it. So that's gone down well. So
yeah, I think it's beautiful. I got on earlier and I was like checking it out because I was like, I see something. So I was nosy. But no, I think it turned out great. And that is really cool that you made it an experience because it's not something that everyone does.
No, and that's what I'm trying to make, just Minecraft a little bit more fun in slightly more unusual ways rather than it just being, because Minecraft these days is so strict, like, oh, we're going to do this farm and it has to be built this way and we're going to do this and it has to be built that way and we've got to use this blocks and we've got to have gradients. And I'm just like, no. Minecraft, you've got the whole world to be completely unique and different and you can make it fun in your own way. And that's what I'm really trying to do. So, yeah. I enjoyed that. What it did occur to me, though, was how big that ended up being in terms of a building and how little room I've got left at the foot of my base. Like, I had visions of a whole town at the foot of that hill. And when I was going around in creative, like putting the structure in a world download, I'm like, this takes up nearly the foot for the whole town. I might have to rethink plans at the foot of my base, but that's probably not a bad thing considering how little time I'm actually getting on there at the moment. Anyway, it would be nice to get finished by the end of the season, which albeit, could be another 6 months from now. It could be another 12 months from now. Who knows? But yeah.
That always happens, though. You have all these plans for something and then you just kind of underestimate how much space you actually need. That's a very, very common problem to have, I think.
Yeah, when we first started, I was like, wow, this area is huge. I'm never going to fill it. I'm going to need some big plans for this. And I'm like, oh, dear.
Well, to be fair, you have quite a bit of space on my side still. And then I don't know how much of that space Zloy is using. So I think there's still like a bunch of room that you have.
Yeah, got a few
you
blocks
do
left.
Decide that you want to fill it.
Yeah, I just need to put some more thought into what sort of buildings I'm going to do and how I'm going to make those interactive and fun. I did plan at one point of having a load of villagers in there, but I don't think that's a good idea now with you having trading halls nearby and Zloy having his potion brewing masters in there. So I think I should just populate them with entities or like mob heads or avatars or something instead and just lag everyone out. Right. The other things I've been doing this week, Jesse, is yesterday... And I know you saw because you popped in. I did a live stream on my main Twitch channel on Elden Ring. Basically, after a bit of discussion in my Discord, because obviously I do family-friendly content, and Elden Ring is not, generally speaking, a family-friendly game. It's not got a great deal of swearing in it. There is a particular NPC that I finished their sort of quest line with anyway that was a bit rough. But most of the time, the dialogue, there's hardly any dialogue in it. There's not very, it is story driven, but there's not much dialogue and you can skip through it. And you can turn blood off, which is amazing, but there's still a lot of really grotesque monsters. There's still obviously a lot of violence. But I put a post on my Discord and a few people were like, no, we don't mind. Just, go for it, see how it goes. And people seem to really enjoy it and they want me to do more. So I'm really happy about that because at the moment I'm like 91, 92 hours in. And sort of about 3/4 away through the game. And I either need to stop altogether, get it out of my system and just go back to doing useful things or make it part of content so I feel less like...
guilty.
Yeah, playing it. Yeah. And I really enjoyed streaming it, actually. It was good fun. So I will do more of those. So that's good. In other news, Jessie B, my friends level patron server and above, which was my Super X server, which was like one we did with custom biomes before we got mountains and stuff like that. And I made like custom caves and custom mountains in it. And that's finished now. It's closed down. Didn't make it into 1.18.30. But on the back of that, I've opened up a new one that's for just all of my patrons that is like a challenge server because obviously 1.18.30, although we've got a hotfix for that now, which we'll talk about in the news. It's totally broken. I didn't want to update any of my patron servers for that, but I also didn't want my patrons to have nothing to play on. And it occurred to me it'd be really good fun, or potentially good fun, to just have a pure vanilla server, nothing included, although it's really annoying people. There's no one player sleep on there. With like a task. So there's no bases, there's no going off and building loads of your own farms and stuff. You're just all focused on building like a medieval castle and a town and stuff. And they've got until 1.19 comes out. Or basically, I've actually said, you've got until the end of May because I don't know when that's coming out and I don't want it to overlap with the new update just in case it comes out early or, we don't know when it's coming out. So and people are already jumping into that and it looks like it's, being semi-successful already. So I can't wait to see where that goes. So I'm, really looking forward to that.
That sounds like a lot of fun. it's really interesting, especially because it's a patron server, having them have something to focus on, because I know for a lot of people that wouldn't work very well.
Yeah.
Like they like to do what they like to do, and they don't really want to like do one thing that you want them to do. But I think you have the right community where that will probably work really well. And I find that fascinating. I would be really interested to see by the end of May or whenever it closes, what that actually looks like, because I'm sure it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out as well. And I've said to them, obviously, if it's good, and I'm not saying everyone has to be a great builder or the world's best at this, that, and the other, but if it's, it's functional and good, not only can we use it for like ongoing things later on for like mini games and stuff together, but I've also, and I've had it for a while, like a new plan for another marketplace dungeon crawler RPG type map. So it'd be really great to maybe take that and just plonk that into this map and, give them all of that to sort of be like, oh, yeah, I did that. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. So fingers crossed, anyway, that all goes well and it does just end up in everybody arguing with each other because it's a community build and, one person's taking over or one person's built where another person was planning to build. Let's fingers crossed it is just for fun and it all goes nicely. And maybe in the next one, I might put one player sleep on because I'm getting a lot of complaints at how regularly people are dying and how frustrating it is playing in the dark. So we'll see. But I wanted it to be pure vanilla for a couple of reasons. First of all, as much as obviously I make add-ons and everything like that, and it's great, and I like to advertise that, and I like to put them on my servers, when Mojang update the game, they always break them, and I'm sick of fixing them. So I just thought, if I just had one server that didn't have to worry about updating, because I'm like, an update comes along, and I always say to my patrons, like, okay, we're going to wait a few days because I don't know if it's going to break anything and crash the world like 1.18.2 did. And also I need to update all of my add-ons to make it work. And that inevitably leaves people without a game to play on for a while. So I just thought with this one, this one's not going to update anyway because it's going to be turned off by the next one. But if in future to have a server that I can just go, okay, the update's out, we're just going to update it. And it's like it's a short-term throwaway one without any add-ons on. If it gets broken, it gets broken. I think that would be something I'd like to always have in the background, just so people have always got something that they can switch to in the case that there's a broken update or my add-ons aren't ready yet or something like that. So, yeah. I
think that's brilliant.
Right. Speaking of brilliant, Jesse, we have got a lot of feedback and a lot of it is written for Slack. So we're going to have to take it in turns on Slack's ones. But I'm going to start with Nick Episcopo. And before I start, I'm going to remind myself to remind you that if you would like to leave us feedback, then you can do using our email address, which is theminecraftupdatepod@gmail.com. Or you can leave a comment on the YouTube video if you're watching this on YouTube, or you can join one of our Discords and leave some feedback there. Having said that, Jesse B and Slack, if you're listening to this, neither of you have been sending me the feedback if there has been any from your Discords. So this has only got stuff from my Discord in it.
Oh.
Another thing that we'll be bringing up later at the end of the podcast. Right, Nick says, hey guys, love the podcast. I had an idea for a new use for the echo shards. What if you could craft a new type of tool or use the shards somehow to enchant your current pickaxe, giving you the ability to mine and move a monster spawner? This would give players more of an incentive to explore ancient cities for the shards and would give players the option and ability to freely move spawners around their world to cater for where they want it. To balance this, you could make it so you would only have one or a few uses before breaking or having to re-enchant your pickaxe with the shards. Just a cool little idea I had, since currently the recovery compass doesn't feel like a worthwhile item to put yourself in such a dangerous situation for. Keep up the great work, guys. I love listening to the podcast on my way to and from work. Keep it coming. Jesse, thoughts?
Well, very selfishly, I would absolutely love to be able to pick up a spawner and move it wherever I wanted. I think that would make for really cool, creative builds.
Yeah, and think of all the people's farms that you could just prank. Just where's my spawner gone? I don't know. And put a note there. Oh, you've got to go here and do this challenge to get your spawner back.
I mean, to be fair, it would be pretty cool. And that would be a fun prank if you knew ahead of time. But gosh, think of all the cool videos you could make with that. There'd be so much content. But I do think that's OP. That's way beyond. That is like another level.
I think it's perfect. I'd love that. I think one use, yeah, definitely. I don't think your pickaxe should break, but I think it like loses that enchantment when you've broken a spawner with it. Now, I have had over the past, because I always fiddle with my servers that I do for my patrons, or I have done in the past. I've had ones where, I think it was a Java server, I can't remember, where you could, it was my super chunk block one, where you could craft spawners, and you could even get spawn eggs for different types of things. So everybody obviously had creeper spawners and stuff, and there'd be like, some of them had like 12 creeper spawners in a box, and they were just like, so I think there's a point where there's too much, but obviously with this one, it would only be the spawners you could naturally get in the game. You're not crafting any or putting any other types of spawn eggs in there. But if you could have a farm array where you've just got like 4 or 5 or even 10 or 20 of these spawners just chugging out mobs, I think that's a really good idea, providing you do it in a way that's not just going to cause massive amounts of lag for everyone else. But no, I really like the idea. I think it's great, but I do think it would make a lot of farming in Minecraft way too easy. So I think, yeah, having some sort of limitations on there is a good idea.
Agreed. We have a question from Hip Hop, and they say...
It's a question, is it?
Oh, sorry, not a question. You're right. It's feedback.
My goodness me. I put it in the wrong bit again then. I was so careful this time. There shouldn't, fingers crossed, touch would be. There obviously will be things in the wrong place, but there shouldn't, because I spent a lot of time.
No, I just don't know how to talk. It's not you. It's me.
Oh, okay. Fair dues. I get that a lot.
Says. Oh, goodness. Dear Jesse.
It's not me, it's you. Sorry.
You're too much. No, you're fine. Okay. Dear Jesse, Floxy, and Slag, last week I sent an email, and as I listened to the podcast, realized how confusing it was and forgot to put in the part where my English teacher sounds exactly like Jesse. So sorry for that. And the ironic thing is my teacher is teaching us how to properly compose an email. Sincerely, Hip Hop. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense.
So Jenna G sounds like Jessie B. Right.
Yeah,
okay, we've got to the bottom of this. Didn't look like you. It wasn't just convenient name rhyming at all. There's just missed out a big old chunk.
Yeah.
But again, on this logic, Jessie, are you related to Meg from Family Guy?
Hey! Ouch! No!
Oh, man. Sorry.
Dang it, Meg.
Shut up, Meg. Right, Arctic S says super podcast.
Hey, no. Let me do that one.
Okay.
I'll do that one.
All right, you do
get
that.
the next Slack. Okay. Because it's just super short.
Okay.
I'm gonna read it. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Jeez. See, remember, I gotta be more selfish.
Okay.
Oh, dang it! No.
Meg.
We said I have to be less selfish.
Yeah.
I got that.
More positive, less negative.
Okay.
Jeez.
Otik says, Super podcast, Foxy and Jesse really enjoyed it this morning. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed, even though we were crazy last week. I don't know what was happening with that one, but I'm glad it went down well.
Yeah, I put an apology at the beginning of the podcast, and I recorded that before I edited it because I just knew it was going to be such a shambles. But listening to it back, I don't think it was that bad. There was a lot of us jumping about all over the place, but it didn't. It didn't listen to as like particularly rushed. It felt like we covered everything. I just obviously, it somehow ended up like way too short. Like there was a black hole in the middle of it all that sucked an hour's worth of content away. So I don't know, bit of a weird one, but yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Rusty Shackleford. Oh my goodness, Jessie B. You're wrong again, Foxy. You don't need a crafting table to survive. You can survive infinitely if you never move and stare at the ground. Your hunger will never go down, and you can hang your Minecraft head in shame endlessly. It's the perfect game. As your Minecraft character hangs his head in perpetual boredom and solitude, you'll be free to sink time into Elden Ring and Pokemon. This isn't an insult, just an annoying joke. And annoying poke in the head, lol. You ever have one of those thoughts that seems really smart in your head, but when said out loud, it sounds really dumb? I realised how dumb my comment was when you read it, lol. Oh, Rusty, you got me. You got me. Of course, I was totally wrong. You were right. Oh, jeez, I feel foolish now.
Oh, gosh, that's brilliant. My favorite part about that comment honestly, is like he transported me there. I felt it. Like I was so immersed in this comment. I was like, I get it. I get it now.
Yeah. Jeez. It's still not going to, I will just point out that hanging your head in boredom and, not doing anything at all isn't going to help you manage to get out of the end and into the overworld, hence the plan of, surviving in the nether until you can get back to the overworld. But I'll give you that, you can do it. So technically, on a technicality, you're absolutely right, Rusty. The end does not need an update. I don't know what we were thinking. Jeez.
Oh, man. Me Too Lansky. Me Too Lansky? Is that how you would pronounce that?
Well, I wouldn't say me because there's no E in it. I'd just say M2 Lansky. Right. But that's just me.
You're right. See, look. Gotta think more positive. You're right. I think that the disc is a weak solution Mojang had. They had near 2 years to think about the ancient city loot, which should be the most important part of the whole of the deep dark concept. Us so sad that everybody is giving so much attention to a creature that you shouldn't even see if you are doing everything right.
I think that it's very difficult to tell Mojang that this is a weak solution and to say, hey, you've had 2 years to do this and you should have done it better. Although we've done that on the podcast several times. I think this was always intended to just be a new experience in the game that's going to be like just a fear factor, almost like going to the carnival and going on a horror, like a ghost train or something like that. It's not supposed to really affect anything or do anything. But with the feedback they've got from the player base going, well, just why? Come on, give us something for that, for going through that. We want a reward for doing that. I think then they've gone, oh, geez, okay, well, we don't want this to have such a sour taste in people's mouths. Let's find something that's not going to affect anything else. What can we do to make this more interesting, make it more of an experience and a journey without giving people something that's going to affect the game? Because that was never part of the plan. So I don't mind it at all. I think the fact that we've got this recovery compass, which obviously someone earlier said they don't like, I quite like that. I think that's going to be a handy tool to have. And I think this music disc is going to be fun to go and get. But I also think because potentially this is still just a part one of a part two when it comes to the deep dark, assuming that something does happen later on down the line with this portal thing, they're probably reserved on what they can push forward without giving too much away. I'm certain that at this point we're not going to be seeing a new dimension in 1.19 or whatever happens to happen with this portal thing, but potentially I think that might be announced for the next one, possibly. Who knows? Yeah,
I agree.
Okay. Is that all you got to say? Jeez. Wow.
I mean, well, no, that leads me to things that I'm sure I will talk about when it gets to the update part. Okay. So I don't want to tangent, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. Good idea. Yeah, we don't want a long podcast by any means, do we? Right, Blue Block says, no need to apologise at the beginning, Foxy. It was still a great podcast as usual. Looking forward to the next one. Well, thank you, Blue Block. I agree with you. It was amazing. It's probably the best one we've ever done. It was certainly the easiest one to edit.
Yeah, it was pretty short. I'd imagine it wasn't too difficult. Plus, we had a lot of long pauses.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Pickles, or the real deal pick, says, maybe instead of it being a pristine version of the sea through the portal in the ancient city, it is instead a sinister version of the world, including all of the player builds, but textures are changed to look darker and grimier. New blocks from this dimension can only be placed in the new dimension, but then appear in the overworld too, so you have a multi-dimensional build. Different mobs spawn with different drops and different spawn rules so that the buildings in the overworld can have different function in the new dimension. For example, perhaps a mob farm design that you build in the overworld but only works in the new dimension. I like that, but I think you're basically saying, can I have Minecraft 2 but also join to Minecraft 1? I think that's it's a really nice idea, but I think it's way too complicated to ever be introduced into the game, and probably quite confusing from a player's perspective as well. We're like, hey, I've done all this building here and there's now it's built it all in the other one as well, and I didn't want that. So yeah I
feel like that would be one of those things that it's a really cool concept, and I would love to see that in a story mode, if that makes sense. It would be a really cool mini movie type thing to just have explored. but I can't imagine that being vanilla, like that being something that we did all the time. It's a really fun idea though. And I like how something as simple as putting a portal seeming looking thing in this new update has inspired such creativity. Like everyone's imaginations has gone so wild, which is definitely like one of those double-edged swords thing. Like everyone is hyping this up so much and you have no idea what it's going to be. But it's also really cool to see how many different takeaways people have. Like just seeing where their imaginations go is really cool to me.
Yeah, I agree. Right, are you doing... Oh, yeah, isn't you next anyway?
Yes, I'm going to do the Jesse one.
Sorry, my bad.
No, you're fine. Extreme Game DNA says, "Hey, Foxy, Slack, and jeez, and Flipper." Oh my goodness, I was just in the latest Snapshot and had a thought that could be cool. What if you could do the same thing to the mud blocks as you can with the wet sponges, placing the blocks in the nether to instantly dry the mud into clay? It may be too easy to get clay, but it would save loads of time. Okay, one, Dolphin Lady, Flipper, really? Really? I mean, fine, sure. It's great. I'll hold in my laughter from now on. I'm gonna be so monotone, like monotone, not melatonin.
Well, since your house is underwater now, it would make sense for you to transition into a dolphin. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But to the comment, I love the idea of having more things have that function because I think it's really cool that you can dry out a sponge in the nether. So I think it would be really fun to have, the mud blocks dry to clay. I just think it would be neat. Yeah, I really like that idea. I think that these, we're going to make this block renewable by making it the most complicated and difficult process in the world to craft it. Like having to put a piece of mud on top of a piece of dripstone with some pointed dripstone underneath just to turn it into one piece of clay is just ridiculous. You're going to need a whole field of... I'm sick of seeing fields of copper that's changing colour. I don't want to see fields of clay being turned. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. I don't understand the hesitancy of why does clay need to be rare? It doesn't make sense. It's just it's already complicated enough to turn it into bricks to do anything with it. So yeah, make it easier. I don't understand the hesitation there.
Yeah, definitely. Melkor Kilded says, like the idea of the redstone bits in the world to show new players some basics, but putting it in an area designed to be clearly endgame makes zero sense whatsoever. Great podcast as always, Jesse and Foxy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree completely. I don't understand the idea of putting redstone in specifically that area. Having it somewhere in the game, that's pretty cool. Like that's a neat idea. But specifically having it in the deep dark, why? Why?
Yeah, I still agree. It doesn't make any sense at all. I can understand, you could have the argument, well, you're probably not going to be fiddling with redstone until you're relatively adept at the game anyway. But just having a tutorial section in a hidden thing underneath what? I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. I'm still completely against this pointless section of the game. I don't know. I feel really negative about that. Maybe I should take a leaf out of your positivity book here and try and find reasons for it to be good, but it just doesn't fit with anything.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense at all, ever. Jeez. Right. Moving on. Mr. Balrog, otherwise known as Vicious, says, pondering regarding the Redstone Ancient City, my take on that they so happily included after community feedback is they likely want to build up an image of the ancient city as a remnant of an old but advanced civilization. That, for the area they are purportedly representing, that kind of redstone was super advanced. Then some cataclysmic event, summoning portal opening, caused the Warden to escape to the overworld and decimated the civilization. So I can buy into it. A Warden's not a monster. A Warden's something that, is not protecting something, I get. Well, maybe protecting something, but keeping you out of. It's more like having a golem, protecting something, you know, like they put on cathedrals and older buildings to sort of ward away things that they didn't want going there. So I can sort of semi buy into what you're saying about this advanced civilization, but I don't think your reasoning about the Warden coming through and ruining it all is justified. Sorry, Balrog. Try again. It's a joke.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Tyler says, I know what Music Disc 5 is, and I would shout it the way that you wrote it, except for my kids are asleep.
Let me do it. I know what Music Disc 5 is. It's all in capitals, by the way, babes.
Yeah, there you go. The beginning is a lot like the ending to Disc 13, which overlaid with 11, it tells the story. I can send the audio files when I can. Disc 5 picks up where 13 leaves off somewhat. It's more lore. Listen to 11 and 13 playing simultaneously, then listen to 5. You'll know what I'm talking about. The new disc, I believe, is hinting at exactly what we have been hoping for.
A new dimension. Again,
exactly.
Wow. I'm interested to actually hear what those things sound like overlaid with each other. I might, if I remember, try and squeeze that into the podcast edit so people can listen, but it's quite long, so maybe we'll just do a snippet of it. But yeah, I'm interested in figuring out how that links to a new dimension. But yeah, it'd be nice to... I'm interested, Tyler. Any thoughts, Jesse?
This is the kind of like conspiracy theory that I can buy into. Like, this is the kind where I'm like, I mean, you have these evidences. I'm willing to go down that rabbit hole with you. I'll listen. I'll take a look. I might think you're crazy at the end, but at least you've given me something that I can, lean into.
Yeah.
So I think it's a neat idea.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, how can the flag on the moon be waving when there's no air on the moon?
Yeah.
Oh, got him. Okay. Hello, this is Foxy from the future. Just going to tell you that I'm not going to be putting any of the Music Disc stuff into this podcast because I've been through it all and it doesn't really make a great deal of sense. Music Disc 11 and 13 are completely different lengths, and when you combine them together, don't really suggest anything at all. Music Disc 5 is almost identically the same length as Music Disc 13, that being the new one and one of the old ones, but again, combining them doesn't really give you anything at all. Music Disc 11 sounds like somebody being, someone out of breath running about, maybe being chased in a cave, and the new Music Disc 5 does sound like the Warden is chasing someone, so maybe they're supposed to be combined together, but again, Music Disc 11 is only a third of the length of Music Disc 5, and putting them together doesn't really spell out anything. I certainly can't get any suggestion that these are leading towards a new dimension. However, it does sound at one point through one of them like somebody is starting a jukebox or a record. So again, this leads me to think there is something musical to do with setting up that portal, but that is probably just wishful thinking. Anyway, back to the podcast. Right, okay. Emerald Thunder Programming says, I love to see some features from the Echoing Void DLC in dungeons coming into the base game. It's a really nice feeling when I'm on those levels. Yeah, I really like the end levels. I liked them apart from the fact that it was very difficult in multiplayer not to just keep disappearing from each other, because you get from island to island by jumping off with these elytra things, but it doesn't work. But apart from that, it was gorgeous, scenery. It looked really good. I liked the baddies in there. So yeah, I would like to see more of that in the base game as well.
I see Ethan has played those, but I didn't make it past the base game, so I have no idea what you're referencing. But I mean, I will take your word for it. I know you are as big of a proponent for the end getting an update as I am. Yeah. So I'm here for it.
Good. Chadgris has got a relatively long piece of feedback, so I'm going to do my best here, peeps. It says, Hi, Foxy and Jesse. Regarding the inclusion of redstone contraptions in the beta underneath the ancient city. Oh, and we've got another one on this one, Jesse. Oh, jeez. That does seem very strange and out of place and weird. I also think it would potentially reduce community interactions with some content producers if someone could go somewhere and find a contraption instead of searching for it. Just a thought. I'm just going to cut in and say, I don't think that's the case. There's not like they've got mob farms and things under there. It's just they've got comparator pointing into a redstone lamp with a lever on it. I don't think, and it's not like it's labeled, hey, this is a tantinculating flip bazonga. I can't think of it. What are they called? Them stupid the words that they have for redstone. It's an on and off flumtimulator. Yeah, no, they're just like blocks. So I don't think that's the case. Anyway, they go on. Regarding the marketplace, I have definitely experienced that you're putting me off with your laughing.
I can't. Flip-flop contimulator.
Exactly.
So
that's what it is, isn't it? I got two tantinculators here and a flip-flop tantinculator. Makes my redstone go up and down. Right. Regarding the marketplace, I have definitely experienced purchase glitches with things I purchased or that our kids have purchased. Mainly they were showing that we owned it, but when we tried to download it, the content window would say it was 0 kilobytes in size. I put a ticket on it and the response was that they knew about it and they were working on it. No real solution other than waiting for them to fix it eventually. Yeah, I think that's still the case. I'm not 100% sure. I've heard rumblings that it's fixed, but I have no confirmation on that. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled, peeps, if you're downloading things from the marketplace and it isn't working.
That's still so strange to me.
Yeah.
like for something that's so important to the game, like for them, for marketing, right? You would think that's one thing they would get right.
I still don't understand
if I buy something, I should be able to have that something. Just, makes sense to me.
Yeah, how can you? I'm sure the systems behind how that all works are ridiculously overcomplicated to try and prevent, for security reasons and all that sort of stuff. But having a download link just link to the file that you're downloading, I don't get how it's so complicated. But this happened with Realms as well. Do you remember all of the? My realm was coming down as a 0 kilobytes download. Why? How is this possible? But clearly it is. We don't know what goes on in the background. I don't know how it all works. I don't want to say they're doing it wrong. Clearly they're not. But it's obviously a very difficult problem to solve. But it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's such a strange one.
Yeah.
M. Tulansky, hey, again, says, hello, Foxy. I wonder the potential that the Echo Shards bring to provide us the unique treasure that we are waiting for. And I want to know, what do would do?
Yeah.
What you would do with it if you was a dev.
Oh, geez. I think this is probably one from my Discord, which is why it's just pointed to me directly. What would I do with the Echo Shards if I was a dev? Oh, geez. I'd make it so that it'd be nice if there was like an extra action button in Minecraft and you could like almost invisibly jump forward a few blocks, like almost like a dash, but you turn invisible while you dash. So you're kind of like an echo, or maybe you could like split away from your character and leave it there as like a decoy and move around if you maybe made armor from it or used the item in some way. But that's way out of what is Minecraft, and it's not probably something that I should add if I was a dev. I'd probably get told off.
Somebody has been playing a bit too much Elden Ring.
Yeah, where I get all my good ideas from. Jeez.
Brilliant.
Is it me? Or is it you now?
No, me. So, Mr. Foxy from Mossy. I should probably put that part. Yeah. Sorry, Mossy. I'm not ignoring you. Mr. Foxy, pre-podcast recording recommended routine. 1, make coffee. 2, drink coffee. But as ever, entertaining and informative, and a great listen on the school runs.
I do make coffee and drink coffee, but it doesn't have the desired effect until I've had about 6 of them. So, and by that point, I'm just busting for the loo. So I don't know if it's just me getting older or what, but it's like I really struggle now to make it through a podcast or a live stream without being absolutely desperate for the loo. So I'm trying to like have less to drink before we start. And normally I'll have 2 cups of coffee on my desk and a big pint of water while we're recording the podcast. I've only had one. Well, I had one before we started, but I had another one when we started. Cup of coffee, which like finished in seconds, and I'm nearly finished my pint of water now. So no doubt I'll still be busting for the loo afterwards and desperately thirsty before we even get into the news. So, oh well. We'll see. We might have to stop for a quick glass of water top up and a tinkle.
Dance break.
Dance break. Deruza, the last piece of feedback here, says, just been listening to the podcast and at about the 28 minutes and 10 mark, it sounds like the compressor and de-esser turn off for a while, just seem to change suddenly. Otherwise, really enjoying it so far. I don't know which podcast that relates to. I think this was on the YouTube channel, so I think it was last week's. I listened to the whole thing back and I didn't notice that. So I don't know whether that's just something at your end in particular, or maybe on the YouTube down the version of it, it went a bit weird. I don't know. So something to look out for. But certainly at my end and on the one that, like, the main audio file was fine. So yeah, a bit weird. Did you notice anything, Jesse?
No, I didn't notice anything. I listened on YouTube and I didn't hear anything. So my guess would be maybe it's like however he was listening, like either a headphone thing or a speaker thing.
Yeah, I wondered if like maybe they'd picked it up on one device and then continued on another device or something like that. But then that would be obvious. I can't imagine they would leave that feedback if that was the case. So I think it must be just like sometimes if your headphones are not 100% plugged in properly, they like you get a weird sound coming through. So it might have been something like that.
Fuzzy sound.
Yeah. Or maybe just some interference from something locally, or maybe it was just broken. Who knows? Right, anyway, moving away from the feedback, again, if you would like to leave us some feedback, please make sure you do at theminecraftupdatepod@gmail.com. Make sure you put feedback in your email subject so that we know that it's feedback. And if you don't want to send us an email, feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube video or, again, in my Discord, because Slack and Jesse can't be bothered to read theirs. Jeez. Sorry, Jesse. I'm only kidding. I make light of it, okay? Jeez.
You know what? Just because you said that, I'm going to make a very specific thing in a little like drop down in my Discord specifically for feedback for the podcast.
Good.
And then I'll just, that'll be done.
Well, you might not need to, Jesse. Again, getting to the end of the podcast. We will discuss this later on. I'm sure you can all guess what I'm getting towards there. Right, so into the news. The first piece of news is that there has been an emergency Bedrock Edition hotfix, which is Minecraft 1.18.31, which, according to Jurax on Twitter, doesn't fix all the bugs, but fixes a bunch. Some platforms will see the updates right away, but others can take hours to a few days to show up. There is a list of fixes which I'm going to go through. The first of all is they've actually put spectator mode behind an experimental toggle, which they should have done in the first place. They're still not accepting any feedback on it yet because it's still totally broken and not intentionally broken, but it was never meant to make it into the game, but they're leaving it in for us to play with. So don't expect it to work and don't make bug reports on it just yet. But the fixes are as follows. And as usual, they're in great detail, Jesse, so we know exactly what they're talking about. The first one, in excruciating detail, which gives us all of the feedback and the information we need, is fixed several crashes that could occur during gameplay. Great. Any particular ones? No bug report on there? No links to any? We've done stuff. we fixed stuff. Okay, great. Fixed an exploit with improperly gaining XP through furnaces. So they've taken away the new furnace glitch, which came back again, which is nice. I'm glad they've done that. Teleporting entities into unloaded chunks no longer deletes them. So my Guardian farm is safe once again, Jesse B. This is good news. I believe that was the issue that was causing the world to freeze up as well, potentially, but I'm not 100% sure. I have asked for some clarification, but so far I have not had any feedback on that. They fixed the screen turning black while reloading RTX worlds, so that's good. And they've fixed textures of distant blocks appearing grainy, warped, and distorted when playing on Android devices. So basically, because they updated every single version of the game to the new Render Dragon engine, there's a thing in the game called MIP mapping, which you'll probably be familiar with if you've played on Java Edition, but you'll probably, like me, have no clue at all what it does. I think, and excuse me if I'm wrong on this, but this affects textures that are further away, how it presents those textures to you to make them look more smooth and like they're in the distance rather than just being like really sharp and grainy, which is what people are experiencing. So basically, I think the MIP mapping wasn't working on Android devices, and they've fixed that. So it should look a lot better playing on Android now. They fixed flowing water and lava textures not appearing correctly on iOS devices. Again, probably something to do with the new Render Dragon engine. And they fixed various frame rate hitches, particularly impacting less powerful mobile devices. Again, I would probably say this is something to do with Render Dragon. Mobs can no longer spawn on buttons, Jesse, so your creeper farm is back in action.
Yes.
This is good news. And they fixed an issue where repeatedly saving and reloading specific chunks would result in delayed chunk loading, performance issues, and game instability, which again I think is related to the freezing and the corruption bugs that we were talking about. But again, no clarity on that, and nothing confirmed. Confirmed.
Yeah.
They've fixed an issue that prevented worlds from being opened after updating to 1.18.30. So again, that similar bug that people were facing, and the Sound of Music achievement now unlocks when the requirements are met, which is nice. They fixed issues with Marketplace not opening on the Nintendo Switch and an infinite loading screen that could occur when making purchases in the Marketplace. So a couple of Marketplace tweaks there, but it doesn't mention the one that we were talking about earlier, so that could have been fixed. We don't know. The good news is that all of those fixes hopefully make 1.18.31 a lot more stable and something that we could potentially actually update to on things like Truly Bedrock and the Patreon servers that we mentioned earlier that weren't updated. So that's good. Any thoughts on any of those, Jesse?
I'm really glad that they're updating things that that actually matter. I mean, I say that and that sounds really catty, but it feels like it. Often we get updates or we get bug fixes on things where you're kind of like, well, was that was that the most necessary thing? Like was that really top tier needing to be handled? But this one, I can't complain about anything that was fixed. It all seems like it was intentional. They went in to try to fix a problem and they succeeded. So, I mean, no complaints, and I'm really happy to hear that this should make a lot of people really happy.
Yeah.
Like all of these updates are something where someone's going to be like, yes, please, thank you.
So in terms of the update itself, obviously something like this is an emergency response to a stable release going out and realizing that it's totally broken. So there's a couple of things to bear in mind here. If you haven't got access to it yet, there's a lot of reasons for that. When they push out, this is not like Java Edition where they're hosting the file downloads themselves. They have to push out these fixes to all of the relevant app stores. So there'll be the Google Play Store, there'll be the iOS Store, there'll be the Microsoft Store, and obviously the Nintendo Switch Store as well, whatever other devices you're getting it on. And all those have to go through a process where they actually check it all out, make sure it's okay, play with it, make sure it's not totally broken and that they actually want it hosted on the systems. And there's a big process to go through before they'll actually certify it and say this is okay for us to list. Now, they don't obviously have systems in place to check for all the bugs and stuff like that. Otherwise, none of the things would go through. But they just want to make sure that the app stores or the devices themselves or the platforms themselves aren't going to be getting loads of angry feedback from people saying this is crashing their devices, or this is breaking this, or this is breaking that. So once they've passed certification on those platforms, then they'll get rolled out to the actual app stores, which again takes time because it's worldwide and they have different data centers everywhere and they've got to push it out to the right places at the right time. So if you haven't got it yet, it will be coming, so don't panic. The other thing I want to say, just briefly while we're talking about development and things like that, I would imagine, again, I don't know this, but if you put an update out and you're like, yeah, we've done it, guys, well done, everyone's patting each other on the back at Mojang, let's start moving on to the next thing we're working on, and then the emergency stuff comes through going, hey, we've totally broke this, it's going to be a massive, punch to the guts, deep sinking feeling for those developers who are then probably going to have to crunch like crazy, working overtime to try and get those fixed. So there's going to be a lot of panic, there's going to be a lot of stress, and it's not going to be a comfortable experience for them at all. It probably means they're doing overtime. So, give them a break. Don't be overly critical of it. They've pushed this out. They didn't have to do that. I'm really glad they did so quickly. But yeah, if it's not 100% still, just, don't worry too much. I'm sure if there's still problems, there will be more fixes coming in the future. These will be the emergency ones that they really consider are the most game breaking. So yeah. Oh, geez. Right. Jesse, moving on to...
Yes.
We didn't get a beta this week on Bedrock Edition, and it's not fair. Those lazy developers sitting around doing nothing, it's not fair. can't believe it. What are they even doing? They just sat there. I bet they're just playing computer games all day. No, we got a Java snapshot, obviously, and I think we might even get a beta today. I don't know, but we're certainly, obviously, it's been delayed with this update coming out. Mm-hmm. But the Minecraft Java snapshot 22W17A got the goat horn, Jessie B.
I know.
Finally, the goat horn drops when a goat rams a tree or any other hard block that occurs naturally where goats spawn, such as logs, stone, packed ice, iron ore, copper ore, or emerald ore. Other solid blocks are unfamiliar to the goat, so it won't ram them. Do you remember when we did the changelog for this on Bedrock Edition and we got this list of things that it would break its horn on? And I was like, I guess that's because that's where that goes. We just had to guess because we had no information.
Yeah.
Java Edition, they're going, this is exactly why, guys. You're welcome. All of this extra information, no problem. Jeez. So I don't want to go on about the goat horn too much, but it's pretty much the same as Bedrock Edition. There are 8 variants, 4 of them exclusive to Screaming Goats, and they can sometimes be found in pillager outposts as well. Jeez. Any thoughts on that before we move on, Jessie?
I it's kind of funny sometimes seeing how excited Java people get about things that like we've had forever, and it feels like just like this little bit of satisfaction because it's always us when we're the second class citizens. And so having them have something second just kind of feels funny to me. That's the only thing the only opinion I have on that.
It does, but what it means though, and when they've done this in the past, is that they get the good version and we just get left with this first rendition. So they get all the feedback goes into these things and they go, right, let's implement all of that into Java Edition before we put it in. And the Bedrock Edition people are like watching the bus go past going, hey, where? Hey, I'll walk then. Jeez.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Touche.
Right. Other changes in 22W17A are that the allay has been updated again. Connecting with node blocks is now better visualized by the vibration particle. The allay connecting with node blocks can now be blocked by wool blocks again, so that's good. So they're not going to get confused and stuck behind a wool wall. They've replaced Realm's subtle selected world highlight with a green clear checkmark. They've updated the Brunstein's based UV and textures to match a graphical fix in Bedrock Edition, and explosions caused by player-ignited TNT now cause experience to drop from broken blocks such as ore blocks and skulk. We will be keeping an eye on feedback for this change. It might change in a future update. I don't know why they would say that. Why would they change that in a future update? Because surely if you're blowing up skulk that contains XP, you want to get the XP out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess there's that argument that, the player needs to interact with something, like the player needs to kill a mob to get the XP, or the player needs to break the ore blocks in order to get the XP. But if the skulk block exists, apart from the stuff that's naturally in the deep dark, that's because a player or a mob has died near it. That's the whole point, is that we've got this stored up XP. So it doesn't make sense to take that away again. So that, bit of a weird one on that one. Skulk blocks now have a very low blast resistance and Warden balancing. Speaking of the Warden, Jessie B, have you heard? Have you heard the news?
Yes.
Oh man.
Yes, I have heard. They have made a drop. Well, I say made. They have given it a drop.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So after all of this, the Warden's definitely not going to have a drop. It will not have a drop. When I saw this, I was like, oh my goodness, it's finally here. We got an item that's going to be able to use in the portal. No, they might as well allowed it to drop a piece of rotten potato. The Warden now drops a single skulk catalyst upon death.
Woo.
Great. Fantastic. Brilliant.
I don't understand it. Honestly, like I realized I was unreasonably upset by this. Like, I saw this news. I saw people tweeting about it, and I was unreasonably bothered. I was just like, this is so stupid. This is so stupid. Why spend so much time? And I mean, devs tweeted about it. People talked about it. There's going to be no drop. There's no drop. That's not what this is for. That's not the point. No drop. And they literally are like, oh yeah, well, we it drops something, but it's just for, technical players. It's not, there's no purpose to it.
It's farmable now, guys. Yeah, it's
Excuse me, why?
The King Big Dogs has tweeted about this because obviously it's a big deal to him, and it was actually a reply to another thread. But basically, he said the important part was that the Warden should never drop something that is important or hard to get that will be worth going through the trouble of fighting for it. In this case, though, fighting a Warden is not worth a skulk catalyst. The change is only made for renewability farms. So basically, they're saying we realise that the deep darks are pretty rare, or the ancient cities are pretty rare, and there's a lot of people playing in your world, and if one goes in and steals all of these skulk catalysts to make their skulk farms, then no one else is going to get to play with them. So you can go play with them by going and killing the Warden, which is fine, but surely there's, like, can they make like a little skulk entity, that like a skulk block on legs or something with big eyes on the front that you can just go and beat up? That would be nice. It'd be a bit of fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than it being the Warden, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, again, you just have to like choose to be positive.
Yeah.
But I've just found myself over the last month, right, of all of these updates, all of these betas, all of these things just becoming increasingly indifferent.
Yeah.
About the deep dark. Like,
yeah.
The more they give me, the more I'm just like, if I never go, I don't care. if I never go, it's fine. Whatever. I went from being kind of like, oh, this optimistic. I was, what did I say? The first one, I'm hopefully optimistic, like I'm giving it my best positive vibes. I'm going to, just see where this takes us. And as it takes us, I'm just like, ugh.
I think it's because we're literally talking about it all the time. We're looking at the change logs every single week. We're discussing it all the time. We're getting feedback back about it. It's enough to drive you nuts over this stuff. But for the players that don't look into all this detail, that aren't following these developers on Twitter, that aren't, reading the Minecraft news, they're going to go into 1.19 and go, oh, what's this? And find this place. And it's going to be a crazily exciting experience. So we are tainted against it because of this, especially with the changes that they've made over time. Some of them a bit controversial, some of them great, some of them not so great. It is easy to get very lethargic on these news pieces, especially about the Deep Dark and the Warden. But let's not forget still, it is still a crazy big change to the game, and for a lot of players, it's going to be really exciting. And to be honest with you, and I know I agree with you on everything you've said there pretty much, I'm still looking forward to genuinely going in 1.19 and going and discovering it all. I think I'm really looking forward to being chased down by the Warden and trying to take him out in lots of different ways. So I think there's fun to be had with that. I think it's just the fun's been zapped out of us from all of these changelogs, I think. Speaking of the Warden, Jesse, good news is the ranged attack will now bypass shields and armor, so it's not blockable anymore, but it will only do 10 damage instead of 30. However, it can do the attack more than twice as quickly now. So the cooldown between the attack has been reduced from 5 seconds to 2 seconds. So you're going to have to be on your guard with it. You also now get a custom death message when it kill you with that ranged attack as well. Other changes in Minecraft Java Edition are that there is now a multiplayer secure chat signing thing. So this doesn't make a great deal of sense to me or probably anyone, I would imagine. But basically what they've done is gone, hey, remember that big problem we had earlier in the year where people were putting commands in chat and it was like hacking into people's computers? They've now put it on a system where when you log into Minecraft Java Edition, it generates a secure key and a certificate so that when you send messages in chat, there's no one can like hack into that and send messages from your behalf or like inject stuff into your game because of that. So it's just a more secure way of talking to each other within the game. Nobody's going to notice any difference at all. The chat will look like normal, but in behind the scenes, it's just a more secure thing to be doing, really. So, yeah,
well, that's good.
Yeah, I think that's a good move forward. I mean, that's the sort of thing that I'm not really bothered about seeing stuff like that in changelog. But then if they don't, we'd moan that why didn't you tell us about this? So again, Java Edition with all the news. The bug list as well. They've fixed a whole bunch of bugs, and it's long. It's really long. I'm not going to go into it again. As much as I'd love to tell you about all the amazing things they've fixed, I'm not going to, because the changelog will be linked in the description below. So just check that out if you're interested in that. Moving on, Jesse B, to fireflies have been 99% confirmed that they're not going to be in Minecraft 1.19 through the Minecraft.net video all about frogs. Did you check it out?
Oh, I didn't. I saw someone post that they had made one, but I didn't actually check it out.
Yeah, so basically in the video they discussed that fireflies obviously were originally planned to be in the game for frogs to be eaten, but then somebody at Mojang realised or was informed that fireflies are actually poisonous to some frogs, and by feeding them can hurt the frog. And they didn't want players to be, learning that you should be feeding frogs fireflies. So they've moved away from that. It had one of those like, we're going to look at this in the future and see where we go with it. But the video basically said, we've given fireflies their CV. Let's hope that they get a job somewhere else, basically was the joke. So I think we can take from that we can confirm fireflies are not going to be in the game. Any thoughts?
I'm totally okay with that. Because weren't they originally going to be entities?
Yeah.
So, I'm good. Keep them out. I'll be happy.
I was looking forward to that sort of. I was hoping there would be a particle effect.
The ambiance would be cool.
Yeah, especially if they did glow. And I don't mean glow like, it's dynamic lighting. I mean like the glow squid. You could look at the swamp at night and there would like be. I'd like it if the water. You know how on my RTX pack I make the water glow? So at night the water's got this like nice gleam to it. If they did that, but with little fireflies like hanging about above, I think that'd be really nice.
Oh, yeah. That would create such nice atmosphere. And I think that's something that Minecraft is missing in a lot of ways. So just having little things like that, I think, kind of make it feel more alive. So I think it would be cool as a, like just an effect or something that's just, in the background, but isn't, an entity.
Kind of like the particles that you get in the nether, but not as many of them, but like glowing light green, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that would be really good. I'd like that. But yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon, sadly. But there we go. Anyway, the other piece of news, I actually just snuck this in while we were reading the feedback because I completely forgot about it. And that is that Jason Momoa is going to be starring in the Minecraft movie for Warner Brothers, and it's going to be live action. So
wait, what? Wait, hold on.
It was
click this.
Announced by the Hollywood Reporter on the 18th of April 2022. And
wow.
So the Minecraft movie, as much as it was supposed to come out like earlier this year, that's not actually been made yet, apparently is still slated that it's going to be coming out. And Jason Momoa is going to be in it. So
I am willing to bet, a lot of money that the only reason he is signing on to do this is because he has kids. Like he has kids that are pretty young. Like I cannot
just offered
picture
him a ridiculous amount of money.
Well, that too, but even for like a lot of money, right? That doesn't seem like something that is in his wheelhouse at all. Like just looking at everything he's ever done, just throw Minecraft in there. That just screams, I have kids and they really like this game and they've talked me into it. And I'm okay with that. That's fine.
That's fine.
It's a very random choice.
No problem at all. But is he going to be Steve? How is it going to work? I don't understand. Have you ever seen or played Minecraft Story Mode?
I have not. I think Ethan has watched it. And is it the one that's on like Netflix?
Yeah, you can play it on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done that one. He was really into it, but I haven't actually watched it.
Send you a link to a picture.
Okay.
In the Discord now, because I can't remember his name. Oh, Ivor. There's a guy called Ivor in it, and he is like this grumpy kind of bad guy, but joins the team. And that I can imagine Jason Momoa fitting that. It looks like Jason Momoa, right?
Oh my goodness, I can see it. Yeah, he's a little more pale, but I can can see it.
If you guys want to see that, if you just Google Ivor Minecraft Story Mode, that's IVOR, and you'll see what I mean. So yeah, I think he could do that. I think he could pull off that role pretty easily. Jeez.
My
Right.
goodness.
That is unfortunately the end of today's news. We have gone through everything with a fine-tooth comb. I can't think that there's anything we've missed out. Hopefully we'll have even more news next week. But before we go into anything else, we're moving on to the... I don't know, Jesse, I've lost it. We'll go into the Bugdate, which, interestingly enough, this week we've actually had a whole bunch of feedback for the Bugdate, which I've actually put into its own document because there's so much of it. But before I read all of your junk, I'm going to read my one that I found today. I found out, reading the Jira, as I like to do before the podcast to see if there's anything interesting coming up, that using the kill command while holding a totem glitches the game out. Of course it does. So if you're holding a totem and you go into creative mode, or maybe you're not in creative mode, you just got cheats enabled and you run the kill command, your world will crash. Amazing. Good job. That's clearly one of the crashes that old, what's his name, Jorax was referring to, that didn't fix all of the bugs. Some of them.
Definitely.
Have you got any bugs, Jesse?
I've been having the issue, and I think it's a pretty old bug, if I remember correctly, where I'm taking so much damage randomly standing, doing nothing. Like I'll go up scaffolding, and then 2 seconds later, like after I've completely stopped, I take just a ton of damage, and I'm like, what? I didn't do anything, and it happens all the time now. I never noticed it as much as I've noticed it since I've been building more, I guess. So maybe, is it just to do with scaffolding or after flying? I don't know. Whatever it is, it's really making me annoyed.
Yeah, I had that a couple of times when doing the bakery this week, and we haven't changed Minecraft on Truly Bedrock. We're still on the same version, so I don't know what's causing that. Maybe it's like a client lag thing or what, but yeah, it's like it stores up the damage you've taken going up scaffolding, and then all of a sudden later it's like, surprise! Oh, thanks, mate. You got me. So, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? It's almost like, I could imagine when we were streaming having like that as a... like half a heart of damage redemption, that people could just be like spamming it. Maybe it's like 100 channel points or something like that, and you're just walking along going, ow, ow, ow.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know why that's just cropped its head up all of a sudden. I can only put that down to like lag or network ping or something.
Yeah, right. It has to be something. It's just super random.
Yeah. Anyway, going into the Bugdate, before we start, Jesse, I'm going to go for a request to dance break while I go and fill up my glass of water and have a tinkle, as apparently an hour and 11 minutes is long enough for me to be busting again. There's something wrong with me, I'm telling you. Right, I'll be back in a moment. Enjoy dance break.
Right. Well, I guess I should go do 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 ba da 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 do 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 ba da da do do. Ba-do, 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 ba-do. I would sing a real song, but I feel like I'd get in trouble because this goes on YouTube. So just ba-ba-na, do-do-do. But with that, I'm also going to pause. So, dance break over.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
I had an idea.
Oh, ideas. We like those.
Yeah, I'm thinking, right, if I invested in one of those futuristic sci-fi astronaut suits that don't exist yet, that recycle your urine, I could literally sit here all day, never have to go to the loo, and always have my thirst quenched. This would be
always be nice
podcasts.
And hydrated.
Yeah, perfect for podcasts and live streams. Why is he doing it in a spacesuit? That's so he can have a wee and drink it.
Gross. Goodness gracious.
Nice. Right. Okay. So the Bugdate from you guys. Daniel A starts us off. Hang on, I'm just have a drink of my recycled water. 1 second. Says, hi all, I would like to ask for your help to get the word out about an important bug that slows down mob spawning on Bedrock Edition. It is in MCPE-153502. When it's time to select a mob to spawn, the game will try slime too often. If it's a location where slimes can't spawn, the spawn attempt fails, but then the game just gives up on that spawn attempt instead of trying to pick a different mob. In the demonstration video on the bug tracker, only 3 turtles spawn on a beach in 5 minutes, but when they took out the slime spawn attempts with a behavior pack, it increased to 33. The beach cave... Jeez. The beach... Didn't say that, could it help? The beach gave a dramatic example, but other biomes would be impacted as well. In a way, it's like the bug that essentially cut all crop growth rates in half, which they just fixed in 1.18.30. I'm hoping that with more upvotes on the bug tracker, we can get Microsoft to work on fixing this one too. Thanks as always for a great podcast, and sorry for the long post. That's a really important one to post, Daniel. I'm glad you've made us aware of that. Now, I was saying ages ago, one of the reasons I don't like about creeper farms, I've said this for years, is because the game will always try and spawn a mob, and when it can't try and spawn that one, it will start again on the next tick and try and spawn a mob. And if it picks like a mob that it can't spawn, it'll start again and do another. So it slows things down. But then the technical community proved that creeper farms are actually, pretty good, and that wasn't necessarily causing too much of an impact. But the fact that it is proven here that does cause a massive impact, and the game's just giving up completely. And it also ties in with what we've been saying since like 1.18.12, when there's just been 1.18, where there's just been slimes everywhere.
Slimes everywhere, yeah.
So yeah, I think working on slime spawn rules to just make them more specific to an area is really going to help mob spawning in the game in general. So yeah, that's really interesting. Really interesting. What do you think to that, Jesse?
I think that I don't understand mob mechanics. I never have. Anytime somebody tries to explain to me why, very specifically, that Java spawning mechanics and Bedrock spawning mechanics are so different, it always goes so far over my head. But it is something that I notice as a very layman's player all the time. It's so strange to me, especially since the more recent updates, that I have slime everywhere. I can't tell you the last time I randomly encountered a creeper or a zombie while caving, right? Like but there's slimes everywhere, like literally everywhere. And I find that really frustrating. I think it takes a lot of the fun out of the game. So the fact that they found this bug is really, one, important, but two, just makes so much sense. Like, it just absolutely makes sense, even to me. So
basically, go and get that upvoted. They'll put the link to it in the show notes below again. But yeah, this is, so for me, they go, okay, we're going to make mob spawning only work in 0 light level. That's fine, but slime still will spawn in full light levels, which is absolutely ridiculous, because then they're going to be the only thing that spawns. So yeah, big problem. Please fix it, bruh. Would really appreciate it. Right. Okay, moving on. Jesse?
Is it?
Yeah, Mossy.
Where?
Are you not looking at the sheet? I linked it and everything. The Bugdate one.
Bugdate, hold on. Is there a different one?
Yeah, new sheet, new one. I linked it last night in the Discord. I've put the link in the show notes, and wow.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that it was like an actual different thing. I'm so dumb. Okay. Sorry. I'm here. I promise. I'm paying attention. I'm awake. So Mossy says, afternoon peoples. Today I found a bug I couldn't find an existing report, so have reported it. It's a minor yet frustrating thing. No bad omen when killing the pillager captain. Kind of awkward when trying to build a raid farm. And then they listed the bug report, and it says, short vid on the report. Keep up the excellent podcast. I think that is super helpful that they linked the bug podcast, brain work. Bug report for the podcast. Thank you. That's I know how to talk now. But also that sounds like a very bad bug to have.
I would suggest I would almost 100% guess that you're running at least one add-on that affects the player entity, and that add-on is out of date, because particularly my add-ons that affect the player entity, if you're running one that's not updated to the latest version, because they keep playing on how they keep changing how the player entity works. In particular, a couple of updates ago, they actually changed how raid things are triggered with the player entity. If you're using an old version of that pack, then you're going to have an old version of the player file, which means you're not going to get bad omen. So if that is a genuine bug, then that's bad. But I would double check, Mossy, that you are playing 100% pure vanilla and that's still occurring. And obviously that you've got it you wouldn't, I was going to say you've got it not on peaceful mode, but then you wouldn't see a pillager captain anyway. So yeah, ignore that. Right. Do you want to do Slack's one or do you want me to do it?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Brood591 says, I have a realm that crashes at every autosave. It happens regardless of device. I've tried it on my phone, PC, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. I have no idea what would cause that.
That's the bugs that was in 1.18.30. Yeah, so that should be fixed now in 1.18.31. The problem you're going to have there is you need to go into the world for it to be updated to the next version. So try and access the world. The realm should automatically update when you do that. If not, get in touch with Mojang technical support and just explain it to them, and hopefully they can update that world for you, and then you should be able to get in there. Jays. Daniel A says, MCPE-69281 is a bug that drives me crazy. When crafting quartz blocks into quartz brick, they only give 1 block back instead of 4. It's caused by an obvious error in the JSON files, which someone posted to the bug tracker long ago. What I hate about this bug is that the fix would be so easy and uncontroversial, so why has it been over a year? Some bugs are difficult to fix, and sometimes there's a legitimate complexity about the impact on gameplay. This is neither, and in my view, it can only mean that there's a need for big improvements in the way bug reports are handled in Bedrock Edition. Okay. Daniel A. I agree with you to a certain extent. The bug tracking system is pretty much nigh on useless from my experience, but it clearly does work. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep fixing loads of bugs. But you're right. In a lot of circumstances, these bugs that are just one line of code in files that are accessible to us could be easily fixed in like seconds and then put into the next update. So why don't they do it? There must be a reason. Maybe they don't think it's a bug. I don't know. Either that or they've just not seen it.
I was going to say it's either that or it's the fact that it's such a small problem in the grand scheme of things. Like, yes, it's an annoying one. It's one that probably affects everyone who plays who has used a quartz block, but it's so small in comparison to everything else that is pretty big and gets lots of upvotes or lots of comments or lots of things. So my best guess is just it's not something that they're privy to. It's not something that they know about or have paid attention to the bug report on, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think the problem is the bug report system, it's massive. There's so many bugs reported on there, and a lot of them are complete gibberish. A lot of them are duplicates of other stuff. And it's such a, how do you have a bug report system that's open to the public that isn't just a complete mess? So the developers have got the same access to it as we have. So they're going to be just going, right, okay, which is the most popular bugs, and I'll try and get those fixed. So this one's probably really far down the list. Maybe it's not got many upvotes. Maybe it just hasn't flagged up to them when they've been looking for it, because, like you say, it's a really easy one to do. So I agree. The bug reporting system is not good, but what would be a better solution? I don't know. If they knew, I'm sure they'd probably try and put one in place, because they obviously want to fix as many bugs as possible as well.
Yeah. The alien doctor says, hi, 2 bugs that I have been affected by for a while is MCPE-98861, significant mouse and keyboard input delay on Windows, and MCEPE-142934, render dragon decreases performance by a lot. I used to use the 32-bit version to not have to play with Render Dragon, which fixed the input lag bug. But now I can't, as Render Dragon is also in the 32-bit version. I don't know. I don't know much about the Render Dragon and what that really affects. So I don't know. I don't think I've ever experienced that bug. Have you?
No, I haven't, but I understand that sort of thing normally happens when you're using like Bluetooth or something to connect your input to like a phone or a console or something like that, rather than it just being on a PC. But Render Dragon is a huge update to how the game does a whole lot of things, and it has negatively affected a lot of things. Again, a lot of those fixes have been addressed by 1.18.31, but I would guess a lot of them haven't. So just let's fingers crossed it improves for you in the long term. They obviously want us to be on Render Dragon for reasons. Otherwise, it's almost like, so for Bedrock Edition, they're not only coding for different platforms and have to code the game differently for each platform, but they're also coding it for 2 different graphical engines, which just makes everything twice as hard. So to bring everyone onto the same system, which is clearly better for them, they must think it's a better system. It's going to take some teething time, but we will get there in the end. But I mean, I wish they hadn't, on the sense that I like the fact that we could get shaders on the older versions, but on the same hand, I like the fact that they are moving forward, because that's always going to make the game better in the end. So yeah, tricky one. Tricky. Sam I Am says, bug for the podcast. User unable to spawn the new Render Dragon. Jesse B, have you seen this? It's absolutely hilarious. I don't know if it was a joke originally or if it's a genuine post, but basically someone put a bug report on the Minecraft Jira saying, I heard there's a new dragon called Render Dragon. I don't know how to kill it. I tried to summon Render Dragon to spawn it, but it doesn't work. How can I spawn the Render Dragon? And one of the mods put in, Render Dragon's a graphic engine, not a mob. So that's brilliant. They've added a new dragon to the game, but I can't get it. And the title of the Reddit post was just bruh. Which I just love. I think it's brilliant. So
yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Ugh. I hope that wasn't a joke. I hope someone genuinely wrote that, because they really did think it was. But I kind of feel things like that are always just like, oh, I'm just going to do this as a joke. But either way, it's funny. Right, last bug report. And this one doesn't have a person on it, so I'll let you... no, it technically would be me. I'll do it, Jesse. It's fine. It's from Waffles and says, I have a hug, but I don't have a specific report. So thanks for having a hug. I'm assuming you got a bug as well. Was playing flat survival and bought jungle saplings from the Wandering Idiot. Tried to grow 2x2 and used 3 stacks of bone meal with no luck. I was out in the open, so I can't imagine what was causing it not to grow. I planted the saplings individually and had no problem bone mealing them to full trees. So basically, they can't get jungle trees to grow to a 2x2 version of the tree, which is slightly concerning. No, they don't have a bug report on that. Waffles, I would suggest you make one, please, so that we can share that out and get that fixed, and also find out if it is a genuine bug or just had a bit of a glitch on your world for whatever reason.
I have had, over the past, I want to say probably 2 or 3 weeks, had that problem with spruce trees, the double spruce trees, and dark oaks as well. So all of the 4x4 trees I have had where I have put literal like stacks of bone meal in and nothing would make it grow. And then I had to break them and replant them somewhere else for it to grow. Like, it took a while, but I have had that problem. Yeah, within the last probably 2 weeks in both single player and on TB. But I just thought it was a connection issue or something going on. So I didn't even think to look for a bug.
No, that does sound like a bug, unless they won't grow if there's like any long grass near them or flowers or anything like that. They have to have a good space of a few blocks around them in order to actually fully grow. So if you plant them 2 next to another block or a ledge or something like that, or like even long grass or flowers, then they just won't grow. So, but they're doing it in a flat world, so I'm assuming there's not going to be unless they've accidentally bone mealed the ground next to where they're trying to grow the tree. But yeah. That's a really weird one, because that's been around forever. Like, that was in Java Edition years ago. But I noticed, like, one of Silent's Bugdates a while ago. He was like, "Oh, well, these trees won't grow," and I'm like, "Yes, because you've got them all next to each other. They were only like certain saplings can be grown next to each other. Like oak, you can put all in a line and you can grow them all. Whereas like acacia leaves, acacia ones, you can't have them in a line. They need space around them in order to grow. So." Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. So maybe double check that there isn't anything on the floor or around the area where you're trying to grow it and see if that makes a difference, I would say. Hopefully it's not a bug, because that's annoying. But Jeez. Right. Anyway, that is the end of the Bugdate section of today's podcast. If you want to leave us a bug that's annoying you, again, email us at the minecraftupdatepod@gmail.com and maybe put bug in your subject line so we know that it's a bug. And now, Jesse B, we are moving on to the questions. And we don't have millions of questions, but we got some long ones. So let's see what's going on there, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Uncle Melbourne Mike says, "Hi all, love the podcast, so entertaining and informative, especially with the three of you." Slack, just saying. Hope Slack gets out of bed soon and rejoins. As a Bedrock player, I'm learning lots from the TB series, so thanks once again. RE last episode, Izuma suggested Redstone under the Ancient City, Java Redstone or Bedrock Redstone. Izuma is great, but should the minority version of the game be dictating? I'm an Android player and fully agree that PC players shouldn't suffer for my choice in how to play when it comes to offhand. Uncle Melbourne died when Mumbo's Redstone didn't work in Bedrock. That's an interesting point. Oh, go on, Jesse.
I was just going to say, that's not something I even thought of when we were talking about it last week, which Redstone devices would be there or if it would be different between each game, because obviously Redstone is very different between both versions.
Yeah, but between both virgins, it's very different. Very different indeed. I would assume that they've picked Redstone contraptions that are simple enough that you don't notice any difference between the versions, but that is a good point to be considerate of. Yeah, interesting. I don't really have a great deal else to say on that one, do you?
No, yeah.
Oh, okay. Right, moving on to Aiden then.
Aiden says, "Hello, Foxy No-Tail, Slack Lizard, and Jesse B. I'm Aiden. I listen to all your podcasts. Anyways, here's my question. What do you think is the best enchantment? Also, what enchantment would you like to add except magnet? Also, what do you think is the hardest achievement to get in Bedrock, of course?" My favorite enchantment is going to be a very lazy answer and say mending. I very much like that my stuff can be healed and I don't have to, spend my whole life making new picks every 100 uses. So I'm pretty excited about that one. What enchantment would I... Again. I'm sorry. I realized the second I said it.
I cut it out. Shh, don't worry. Okay. Carry on as if nothing's happened.
My favorite... What enchantment would I like? I would like... I know we've talked about this. I can't think of one at the top of my head right now. Nothing is just like popping into my brain for a new enchantment. But the achievement that's the hardest to get, I think they're all fairly easy. I think probably the one where you have to take a villager all the way up to build height.
Star Trader, it's called. I'm just looking at them now at the list.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the ones that I don't have yet. And then I don't have... So I have a lot of achievements, right? I have the majority of them. One I don't have and has been in there forever, and I don't know, haven't done it, is the move a piston with a piston and then move it back or whatever that one is. I haven't done that one. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that was the thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I was going to say mending, but then I realized if I didn't have efficiency 5, I just wouldn't play Minecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would never. I just wouldn't. I'd be like, no, don't want to play Minecraft. I'm not digging at normal speed. No chance. I don't even care if I've got a beacon with haste 2. I'm not doing it. I need efficiency 5. So I will repair pickaxes all day long so that I can dig fast. I would much rather have that. In terms of a new enchantment, wow, geez. I don't know. I've probably come up with millions of ideas over the past, but I can't think of any right now off the top of my head. And in terms of the achievements, I'm having a quick flick through. I've never been into achievements, so I don't really know them. I can't really remember any of them. But I would guess like obtaining 1,000 emeralds from trading with villagers, if you're not really into villagers like me, was probably quite difficult. But the one that got me the hardest when I did try and get achievements, because I'm totally stupid, is the whatever floats your goat. Basically, get in a boat and float with a goat. Jesse, do you remember?
Yes.
I thought you had to float so in the air because that's how people float, not on water in boats.
I love you. How many died before you realized? It was like 3 or 4.
It took me forever to find goats because they just wouldn't spawn, and then I was just getting them in boats and driving off cliffs. They were all dying. No, that was one of the most frustrating achievements I've ever got when it suddenly dawned on me I could go, well, I didn't. I had to Google it and find you just floating about in water. Of course you do. Makes perfect sense. What an absolute moron. So yeah, thanks Aidan for bringing that one back.
Now that you've mentioned that though, I think what is the word? Thing that you put on enchantment. There we go. that completely blinked out of my brain. I think the enchantment that I would like is basically like slow falling on your elytra. I would love if I could have a specific pair of elytra that had slow falling on them. So when I'm building, I can like slow down and look at it and not waste a million rockets and be all annoyed. Yeah, so it's like slow falling for elytra.
Yeah, really. Or one that stopped you just getting floated by shulkers when they shoot you. An enchantment that stuck you to the floor. You know, like
sticky,
gravity.
Like sticky boots.
Sticky boots. Sticky boots. Don't get me back on sticky boots again. Right, geez. Anyway, M2 Lansky back again saying, so with the deep dark added into the game, what loot you feel like would be useful for Minecraft community and what you think the Echo Shard shout be used for? M2 Lansky died by the Warden. So what loot do we want added into the deep dark, and what do we think the Echo Shards would be used for? Well, we kind of covered Echo Shards already earlier, but is there any loot you think they should add to the deep dark, Jesse?
I would. So here's the thing, right? I'm pretty happy with what we have, and I don't think I can pick a new item or a new special something without knowing what is coming to the game. Like, I think new loot would be for new special areas, and there's no new loot that I think I can think of that would be helpful for the deep dark itself. So there's nothing I can really think of that I'd be like, yeah, this needs to be in the game.
A skulk pearl that you can activate the portals with. That's what I want.
Done.
Speaking of just achievements a second ago, right? I'm not 100% stupid because obviously there is the when pigs fly achievement where you literally have to ride a pig off a cliff in order to get it to take fall damage. So obviously that's what I was just thinking. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. All right, jeez.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. I don't know what loot to put in the deep dark, really. I mean, I'm sick of loot chests with enchanted books in. I don't care if I never see another enchanted book in a loot chest again. I don't know. I don't know. It's like, what could they add that's more fun? A better bow, a new type of bow, or a bow that fired echo shards that, I don't know, made mobs move different. I don't know, slowed them down or something. Who knows? Just something unusual and different that's kind of fun. Like a music disc that's broken into lots of pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. If we can dream, Jesse, we can dream. Jerusa, there's a question. A question/idea about the possible new dimension. Saying, there is a new music disc called Labyrinth. There isn't. There's a new music track in the game called Labyrinth. It's not music disc. What do you think about the new dimension being a labyrinth? My idea would be for it to regenerate each time you enter it. Maybe it puts you in a random location instead of regenerating. And then you have to solve the maze to get out, basically becoming a renewable looting dimension with hard-hitting mobs, maybe wardens hiding around corners. So basically a dungeon crawler.
Yeah,
I kind of like that, but I think if you put a player somewhere and they can't get back home again, unless they die, but then they go back through and where's their stuff going to be? I guess they could use the recovery compass to try and find their way back to their stuff. But if it's a labyrinth or a maze, that's going to be potentially really difficult. So yeah, I'd love to see it like actual dungeon crawling mechanics somewhere in Bedrock or in Minecraft. But I think there's maybe doesn't want to be just that. Maybe it's you go to a dimension that's got those in it and you've got a choice to go in, maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Jesse?
I really like the idea of having like a labyrinth in Minecraft. I think anything that gives me like a puzzle to solve or something that's just like really interesting is gonna get my attention. I think that's what Minecraft is. I don't want to say lacking, but there aren't enough of it. Like you have the jungle temples, right? And they have like the cool little lever tricks that obviously you don't need to do, and we all know how to do them by now. But just like little things like that, I think are really interesting. And I think it would be really cool if we had more of those in the game. So I'm all on board with a sort of labyrinth being added. I don't know if I would want an entire dimension like devoted to labyrinths, but I love the idea of there being labyrinths either in that dimension or added to the game. So yeah, I think that's brilliant, just maybe not as an entire dimension.
Like the strongholds, they're like kind of labyrinthy, but they just don't have anything fun in them, do they? They don't have any like secret doors or like redstone contraptions or anything. So yeah, I like the idea that we've got more of that going on, and just maybe in those sections the mobs maybe just hit a bit harder, or they're a bit bigger, or they go a bit faster, or maybe some sort of slight variation that doesn't just make it the same as fighting a zombie anywhere else, you know, to make it more of a challenge. I would absolutely love. So yeah, I really like that idea, Deruza. I'm just slightly hesitant for it to be the entire world. Moving on.
Exactly.
Jason
Gerard.
Momoa. Oh no, Jared Marsh.
No,
Sorry.
No, I was going to say it's Gerard. Gerard Marsh. Love the podcast when you are tired. Disorganized is hilarious. Question. How do you think Mojang, Microsoft, giving Java for free to Bedrock players and Bedrock to Java players will influence users? Asking as I've just bought Java as a birthday present for my daughter and outside have been able to use offhand. Bedrock seems to be a much easier to use game. I think in general, I think it's nice. It's nice they're giving it away to people. One, I feel a little bit bitter that I have paid for so many instances of this darn game and now people are getting it for free. But, you know, other than that, I don't see a problem with it, or I don't have a real opinion on it.
So I can only assume that when you get it for free, you're only getting it free on Windows 10 through the launcher, or Windows 11 now, because
I believe so.
You can't. They're not going to allow you to get it free from one of the app stores that's not controlled by Microsoft, because the app stores won't allow that because they're not making any money on it, surely. So unless there's a free version of the game that you get a link to, but then everybody would just download that free version of the game. So I think it's, if you've got a PC and you want to play Minecraft, then I don't know how it will influence, or Java players will influence users. I don't know. I don't think that really, it kind of feels like a bit of an odd question. I just think if you can play Java Edition, if your system's good enough to do that, then I would probably play that just out of the fact that it's got all of the intentional features in there, whereas Bedrock is always going to be playing catch up. But Bedrock is, yes, certainly an easier game to play, particularly if you're playing with friends, potentially, if it doesn't all just make a complete mess of itself like it does when I try and do it. And it's more optimized, so it's going to work on older systems. So I don't know, it totally depends on what your play style is. If you are just wanting to copy off what you're seeing on YouTube, chances are people are playing on Java Edition, so play Java Edition. If you want to just, pick up a world on a realm and play it on any of your devices, play on Bedrock Edition, or you want to play more regularly with your friends, play on Bedrock Edition. So I don't know how to answer that really, other than that. But yeah, I've spent many money on different accounts and different versions of the game, and I'm not bitter about it. It is what I really dislike is that we're now having to use this launcher. We don't have to, but like the main Bedrock Edition download from the Microsoft Store comes with the launcher, and it just doesn't work. It's totally broken. Whenever I got my new laptop with Windows 11 up, and the one before that had Windows 11, the one that went back, neither of those were able to download the launcher and actually open it, and the Xbox apps were both broken on Windows 11. But they've removed the version of Minecraft that was just the main version of Minecraft Bedrock Edition. You can still buy the like pay-to-win versions. Hey, buy the Heroes pack and you get a free something or other. But you can't buy the old one without the launcher. And for me, that was just breaking my game. So that I don't like that. The other thing about a launchers are just another slow thing to go through before you start what you actually want to start. I hate them. I think the fact that Java Edition's got a stupid launcher is really annoying. Yeah, great. It allows you to choose which version you're playing on, but allow me to set that like a default one and then just click my Java Edition button so I can just launch the game. I don't want to go through one program that before I get to the next one. And now that everything is controlled by Microsoft, it's all Microsoft accounts, it's so slow, especially if you want to switch account to something else. It takes like 20 minutes for it to go. You log out and then it goes, okay, do you want to sign back in again? Yeah, I'll sign back in again. It's like, hey, welcome back. You've just logged out of that one. I don't want that one. And there's a little button at the bottom goes, do you want to use a different account? So you click yes, and then you go through oh my God. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
It is. I really wish there was a way to quick switch between Microsoft accounts for Xbox Live. I don't want to have a whole new Windows account for each Xbox account I'm using, because every time you start a new Windows user on your PC, it just implodes how much hard drive space you're using. It makes everything really complicated. All your programs get confused. It's a nightmare. I want to have one desktop, one login on my computer, but I want to be able to just quickly switch between 4 or 5 different Xbox accounts so my kids can come on and play, or that I can use my alt accounts or whatever. But it's such a painful process, and it's getting worse now that we're going to go through the stupid launcher as well. Because chances are you go through the launcher, which you got to log into, and then when you get into Minecraft, it's like, oh, you got to sign in. So yeah, I'm really happy about it.
I can tell.
Really positive vibes. So if anybody from Microsoft or Mojang's listening, just bin it. Put it in the bin. Put it in the bin. It's stupid. And give me a quick switch Xbox button, please. Please. Right, anyway. Our last question is from Tyler, and this is the one that leads us into the little bit of discussion that I want to discuss with me and Jesse and Slack, but Slack's not here. So Jesse will have to do. I hope that doesn't make you feel bad, Jesse. I would like it to have been all three of us. Hey, I wanted to ask if I could make a website for this podcast. I know you have a website, Foxy, but I wanted to make one dedicated to the podcast. I don't want to work on it alone. I'll find some trusted people to help. I'd use JavaScript to make it. The reason I ask is because I would like to help you three and boost my career, meaning it's something I can show employers. I don't mean to advertise anything. I don't expect any pay. You can pay me if you like, but I don't expect anything. Just want to help. Okay, so Tyler, I have been thinking for a few weeks now that if this podcast is to continue the way it's going and it's going to be regular, it would be worthwhile having a little website for it and its own Discord and potentially even a Patreon system as well set up so that Jesse, Slack and I can all like share from that point of view. But I wanted it to kind of get its feet first and find out where it was going and make sure it's something that we can, keep going with reliably. I don't know how Jesse or Slack feels about that because I haven't spoken to either of them about them yet, and I thought we'd do that live on the podcast. Well, it's not live, it's, tomorrow, but whatever. So, Jesse, I'll talk about, like, Tyler wanting to do as a website separately in a minute, but first of all, before we do any of that, what are your thoughts about us having a website /Discord/Patreon?
I really like the idea of, I'm an organization freak. Like, I really, really love when things all have their place and it's as easy as possible. Like, if I can go to one place to get everything I need, that is bread and butter. Love it. So happy Jesse for days, right? Yeah. So the idea of having one Discord where people can put their questions, or having one website where someone can go and click any link and they can go to the YouTube video, they can go to Spotify, they can do whatever. All of that just makes my inside so happy. So I'm totally on board with the idea of putting more organization into it if that's something that everybody is interested in. Like, if we're putting a lot of our time and effort into this, I'm willing to go all in. Like I specifically, set aside time every week to do this. I try to, make it as painless as possible for poor Foxy, who has to do most of the work. And so I'm all on board if that is something that we're all interested in doing.
Good. And I know it's the icky part of this, but what do you think about Patreon? Because I know a lot of podcasts are supported by Patreon. I know the Minecraft, what they called. The Spawn Chunks podcast is, the computer game show one I listen to is, and that makes a lot of sense. But they also then do extra stuff for their patrons. Yeah. And I don't want to sit here and say categorically, yes, if we was to open a Patreon, we would be suddenly doing all this extra content, because I know Slack, Jesse, and I already struggle, certainly in terms of time zones, to find time to get together to record this podcast, but just we got so many other things to do as well. So I think that's the sort of thing that when a podcast gets to a certain size and you're going, hey, this is actually doing something for us, right? Then you go, well, we could probably put more of our time into it and reward people by, supporting us for doing that. But at this stage, I don't think that we could just out and out say, yeah, we're going to do a Patreon-only podcast once a month. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. However, Jesse, again, this is discussion, not we should do this or we should do that. Right at the beginning of when we started this podcast, I originally said that I really wanted to get it to a point where we were actually doing the podcast live through like a Discord stages thing, and people were like chatting to us in the text while we're doing it, and we could respond directly. And that's something I'd still like to do. Again, that's going to be difficult because it makes it a much more regimented thing to do. And with us bouncing around with time zones and things going on, that's not always easy. But I would like it to get to that stage at some point. Now, that is the sort of thing, and it sounds really like greedy and gatekeepy, but that you could put behind a patron wall because you're offering something extra.
Yeah.
So I'm not just obviously offering this to discuss with you and Slack, but obviously the people listening to as well. I'd really enjoy feedback on this and what you think is too much and too greedy or too skeezy. What do you think about all these things? So, Jesse, what are your thoughts? Honest opinion, obviously.
Honest opinion is I think something like a patron, it's a great milestone kind of reward. Like right now, I think we're all really happy with what we're able to put forward. I think we enjoy it. I think it's a great way to really mold like our opinions, and it's a nice experience to have. So keeping it going is wonderful. And I think as time goes, or as we get more comfortable, as things go on, and maybe we hit a milestone, like we have a consistent viewership or we have a consistent whatever, it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense that if we're putting all of this time and effort and people are enjoying it, to do something like a patron and having Discord only events or patron only events, I would have no problem with that. I think if we're going to go that route of putting our time, which is valuable, like, I'm not going to say that it's not, like, as parents, as content creators, as human beings, time is money. And I don't think it's greedy to say, hey, I'm doing this and I'm trying really hard and I'm really satisfied with what we're doing. Having something, I don't think that's greedy. I think that just makes sense. Do I think we're at that place right now? No. Do I think we could get there? Absolutely. I think what we have is really good, and I can see the promise.
Good. I'm glad you think so. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we're there in terms of patron or anything like that yet, but I wanted to bring that up because it all seems to sort of meld together as the same thing. Yeah. One thing I would be particularly interested in is a dedicated person, volunteer, that would like to edit the podcast, because that does take a big chunk of my time. It's a relatively simple thing to do, but it's that's the bit I don't like about doing the podcast, is that's like literally I get up on a Friday at 8 a.m. and by 11 a.m. I'm finished and getting it uploaded. And that's like half my day of creating stuff, especially on a Friday when I got to pick my kids up from school. A big chunk of my day gone where I should really be doing other things. Now, again, the podcast's great, but at the moment, apart from pennies worth of advertising revenue we get from YouTube and the Spreaker adverts, which just literally, well, I don't even think they're still covering for what I'm paying for Spreaker at the minute to actually host the things. I don't know if they are. I need to check that out, actually, because I obviously, another thing, open to everybody here, said that I would more than happily share any of that revenue with Jesse and Slack, because obviously they're just as much a part of it as I am. It would be nice to think that chunk of my time where I'm not, because this is my job at the end of the day, doing content creation and stuff like that, that chunk of time had at least some sort of income coming from it. But obviously, as a podcast grows anyway, those things are more likely to naturally happen. But it is very difficult to monetize a podcast without just spamming it full of ads, which I really don't want to do. I think there's stuff to go through there. And if anybody listening to this would like to volunteer to edit the podcast, it would need to be done swiftly. Like, we're recording this on Thursday morning. Usually we'd probably be recording on a Thursday evening, and it would need doing in less than 12 hours after being recording it, so we can get it out in a timely fashion. Then please do let us know, drop us an email or contact us on Discord. But in terms of Tyler making as a website, I would love to see what you could potentially offer. If you want to send through some design ideas, things like that, that's great. But what I will say is that I'm certainly not going to be paying anyone else to do a website, because I can easily do that myself. But I wouldn't want it to be hosted or in control by other people. I'm a complete control freak. So if someone was to volunteer to make us a website, it would be on the basis that you sent that through to us and we hosted it ourselves and had control over it. Maybe, you could keep it updated or be an admin or a moderator on it or something like that. But I don't like the idea that someone that's not related to the podcast, that we don't know personally, that's not financially invested or, part of the group, could just then go, actually, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put this on there, I'm going to take that away, or I'm just going to shut it down because I can't be bothered, or you disappear and it doesn't get updated anymore, and there's this website lingering. There's too many loose ends there that I wouldn't be able to feel comfortable with. So by all means, if you want to throw together some ideas for a website and we like them, then we might say go ahead and put it together for us, but on the basis that we're going to be hosting it going forward and having control over that. So yeah, up to you, Tyler. So get in touch if you are interested in doing that. Any thoughts on that, Jesse?
I definitely agree. I think it's really nice that you would like to work on your portfolio. I think that's important. I think that's a natural part of growing, but I too think that is a lot of loose ends, and it would very much need to be dealt with in-house as far as control over a website. But I would love to see what you come up with as well. I think it's really fun to see people's creativity.
Yeah, good. Right, which, speaking of creativity, Jesse, is again, completely useless segue, doesn't work at all. I guess it kind of does. We are now moving into the final portion of today's podcast, which is, of course, us telling you what we're doing this week in terms of stuff. But before I do that, I just want to say, if you would like to leave us a question, make sure you write an email to theminecraftupdatepod@gmail.com, put question in your subject line, or, as I always say, leave a comment on the YouTube video if you're watching it on YouTube, or drop a note in the Discord, which we might even have a new Discord by next week. Who knows? Depends how much time I have on my hands this weekend. Right. Anyway, Jesse, what have you got going on this week?
I will have a video going up Monday, and I will be streaming Monday as well, and hopefully 2 other days next week. So look forward to that, hopefully.
Okay, good. Right. Well, for me, I was hoping that we would get another update, another beta. Hopefully we'll get one today, maybe, because I would really like to pop out a video for that. I still didn't do one for the last one yet, but it feels like time's passed on that one, so I might not do that. Might just shove in an addendum to the next one I do on that. I will be streaming this afternoon, which is yesterday, if you're listening to the podcast on the day it comes out, so that's pointless information for you. And then next week, I'm really hoping to do my Monday live stream on YouTube. I want to pick those up again. My Tuesday live stream on Twitch, and the Thursday one is likely going to change because when we're going to be recording the podcast next week, potentially. I won't know more about that till later on, but if that does change, it's probably going to change as a permanent change, so be sure to check my Discord schedule page to see what's going on with that. And also, in all of that, I want to squeeze in more Elden Ring, Jesse. So, yeah, keep an eye on that. But for now, unfortunately, unless Jesse's got anything she wants to say out loud to the whole world or the people listening to the podcast, I'm going to say it's time to go.
Bye, guys.
And one, nearly there, Jesse. 2 hours. We made it. It wasn't short and ridiculous. And I think we covered everything. I don't think we missed anything out. Or did it feel better to you?
Yeah, it did.
Excellent.
Today felt less jumbled or rushed, and also just, I think, more natural, which is always good.
Yeah, and I think spending that hour or so last night planning and preparing made a big difference in trying to scramble in the morning and do it before we start when my eyes are still half shut. Anyway, right, thank you all very much for listening. I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.